Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 74 today for the Chinese Grand Prix in season number 5. The very first time we're going back to Shanghai for the Chinese Grand Prix, well, that's all on this game. We've had, obviously, over the course of the game's life cycle, 3 DLC tracks come in, Imola, Portimao, and Jeddah the last, but the Chinese Grand Prix is technically this extra circuit we have in the game, and this season, of course, as I stated in the pre-season video, we're going to have the re-emergence of the Chinese Grand Prix as round number 2 for this season. So I'm excited, you know, it's been so long since we've done a career mode race full stop at this circuit. That's going to be very odd to do a 50% race around here, you know, with the tyre wear, fuel loads. You know, we played a little bit of it in Breaking Point way back at the start of the game, in the story mode of this game, but to do a career mode race at it, especially with maxed out cars as well, is going to be a very odd sensation, and it's maybe going to take a few laps to get used to things. So for the first time in a long while, probably season 2 or even season 1 really, I did a fair few practice laps. You can see here, just trying to find the limits of the circuit, the racing lines, where to brake with the maxed out cars. But you know, this is going to be a very interesting round 2 even without China, because we still don't fully know who's going to be the quickest around over the course of the season. Bahrain was a very unique round 1 with the tyre strategy differences. It saw George Russell go on to win it in the McLaren despite starting in P11 on the grid. We had a calamity for Ferrari. They were looking good. Sainz was dominating, and he had an issue that slowed him down, and his teammate Ricciardo flat out DNF for that race. But it was a very exciting first episode, and I must say, you guys blew my expectations out the water in terms of the response to that episode, so thank you very much. Even the pre-season as well, it's been absolutely awesome to see the amazing reaction to this new season, and hopefully you guys don't mind too much waiting a little bit longer between episodes. Like I said at the end of last episode, there is good reason. We're just trying to time this season correctly with the remaining other seasons I'm planning on this game, as we run now obviously to the halfway point this year where eventually F1 2022 will come out. Let's dive on into the race weekend then for the Chinese Grand Prix, then round number 2, qualifying 1, and it is very doom and gloom. So it's a, well, kind of, it's not a new circuit, but it's a new circuit for us in a long time on career mode. I did not need this. I did not need another spanner, another variable, another level of difficulty, which is a full wet condition qualifying in Q1. I think it's going to let up a little bit, and if we can get through into Q2, if we can get through, it will be intermediates, I think, for the remainder of Saturday. But that's a big if, because I was the least confident man ever going into this session, because I was still getting used to the circuit with this handling model on this year's game, because I've literally never driven it really, apart from Breaking Point, like I said. I was still getting used to the maxed out cars, like where to brake, because obviously I was using my visual reference points from, you know, F1 2020, F1 2019, but they're different because we're in maxed out cars now. But that's kind of out the water now, in qualifying at least, because we've got rain, so the brake zones change a little bit. You know, where I can plant the power down is very different. So I just really wasn't sure if we could even get through into Q2. That's not a guarantee in this kind of season where the grid is so close. And through the course of Q1, I think we go for a total of 4 different laps, and finally that last one I felt was maybe good enough. It was P12. The session's now ending. Less than 1 minute left, so that's it. I can't go again. Didn't have the fuel for it, and we had to pray we got through. Thankfully, we did. P14, though, so we cut it a little bit fine. 2 positions less, and we would have been out of Q1. Meanwhile, Leclerc, 1.7 seconds quicker than us in these conditions. I really hope that we can maybe gain some confidence and some speed in Q2 and Q3 on the intermediates, if it is going to indeed be intermediates, and then definitely into the race. If it's going to be, I think it's going to be dry, hopefully. I hope we can bridge that gap, because if that's actually the kind of pace I have, then I clearly didn't do enough practice around here, and we're in for a very tough time. Thankfully, the track does go to intermediate, so it's raining a little bit less, and the grip is there. So far, though, in this session, everyone else set times on the full wet. I waited till halfway through the session, and my engineer said it's now time for inters, so I just didn't even bother going out on the full wet tyres. Why would you? You know, just wasting time, essentially, and, you know, you might crash the the car, basically, and end your session early. So we go quickest of all now, because we're the only man on intermediates at the moment. Everyone else on inters on the top left there, you can see, has only just started their outlaps there. So we're the only man who's set a time right now on those green wall tyres. And we're going purple, purple, and we're on the third consecutive lap now here, and we are looking very, very decent. Catching up to Lando Norris in the McLaren. We've got a car right behind us as well, maybe nicking some slipstream from us a little bit cheekily here, but let's see what this can be for us, and hopefully this is going to be enough to get through into the top 10 shootout. You never know with the track evolution, others setting times at the end, but for us across the line, another purple lap there. In the end, it's not the quickest of all. Gasly goes quicker, showing the AlphaTauri does indeed still have some pace here. They may have had a quieter weekend around Bahrain, but they're still there with some pace. But we are through with Leclerc, and that's a little bit more like it in terms of being equally, or a bit more equally matched with Leclerc there. We edge him from second place to third. Sainz, the only Ferrari, once again through. Ricciardo struggling to adapt to his new Scuderia Ferrari. Guan Yu Zhou, the home favourite, up in P5, beating his teammate Valtteri Bottas in the Williams in P9, so he'll be quite happy with that. Both Red Bulls again showing some promise in qualifying, but they both had some pretty horrendous race pace, and, well, Giovinazzi DNF'd at the Bahrain GP, so let's hope it's going to be better times for them. And then Russell this time is the one McLaren through. This time it's Lando Norris's turn to be knocked out in Q2, so, you know, it looks like the race winners, McLaren, they're still not fully on top of getting both cars through, so whether that's a kind of understanding the car, or it's just these conditions, maybe the same way with Ferrari. Interesting stuff. It seems like the only teams able to get both their cars through are the kind of, you know, consistent ones we saw last season, AlphaTauri, Williams, ourselves. So, you know, you can still see that there's some patterns from last season, you know, the more focused drivers, but clearly there is a bit of a change. I think Mercedes look even weaker somehow on Saturday in terms of pace, because Verstappen got knocked out there, and the Ferraris, well, both of them were actually making it through quite consistently sometimes in Q3 early on in the season, but now it's only Sainz as Ricciardo struggles, and the same for McLaren as well. Both McLarens were making it through into Q3 last season, but now it seems like, you know, well, only 2 rounds have gone, but it's a bit of a yo-yo for Russell and Lando so far. But anyway, in this top 10 shootout, sorry, as I've been waffling on about the kind of pecking order, so far we've set 1 lap time. We did go for a second consecutive lap, but I actually didn't improve, so I just decided to bail into the pit lane and then get a new set of tyres on. So we'll do 1 final lap then in this top 10 shootout. Right now, both us cars are looking a bit slow there. Leclerc down in P10, he now goes P7. We are down to P9. We're narrowly finding maybe 2 tenths in that one right-hander, maybe another 10th or 2 in this double left-hander, but it's very tricky, I'm finding it, to actually find extra time that the others have around us. And we go purple second sector, green the first, but it's only good enough for P6. In the end, Leclerc drops down to P9. Very surprising. Yuki Tsunoda with the most bonkers pole lap, 1.145 ahead of the next car in second place. So I think that's a little bit glitched, I'm not going to lie there, but Tsunoda, the Japanese man in the AlphaTauri, on pole position, a pretty big statement from him, but I think that is a little bit weird because he's 1.9 ahead of Gasly, and generally speaking, Gasly has been the much quicker driver so far in this series, clearly was last season, but Bottas showing the Williams still has some good pace into this season. Second place on the front row. Schumacher, though, really good P3 from him. Both Red Bulls looking a bit stronger there. Giovinazzi a little bit down in time, but Schumacher showing what the Red Bull can do. And then Ferrari on the second row with Carlos Sainz. For them, they'll just be hoping of some good reliability, to be honest. And then Russell, he's in a pretty good position. P5, he got P1 from P11 last time, so you never know. And the home favourite, that's actually a very, I feel like Guan Yu Zhou would be very happy with P7 there. For us, P6, I was hoping for a bit more, but clearly maybe, you know, the conditions didn't suit our car. Maybe the track doesn't, you know, suit our car. I don't know. We've never come here before, so this is a massive stab into the unknown. Very much like Bahrain, really, again, because we've had so many different variables. New track, weather, you know, now the tyre wear around here. I don't know what the hell the tyre wear is going to be like in career mode now around Shanghai. I know what it was on previous games, but on this game, no clue. So this is going to be massively exciting to just find out. It's almost like playing a whole new DLC track in a way.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once more, a race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula One victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt we've got plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. We're here in the Yangtze River Delta today, home of the 16 corners that make up the Shanghai International Circuit. 54% of this 3.3-mile lap is taken at full throttle, and we'll be getting up to speeds of around 200 miles an hour, with DRS assisting the cars down the back straight before they brake into the sharp hairpin at turn 14. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Yuki Tsunoda lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Mick Schumacher, Sainz, George Russell, the owner driver, Joe Giovinazzi, Leclerc and Pierre Gasly, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Esteban Ocon and Norris, Stroll, Aitken, Lewis Hamilton and Callum Islands, Mazepin, Latifi, Matsushita and Christian Lundgaard. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Another reason for this Grand Prix to be very mixed up is because, of course, we've had the wet qualifying, so it means everyone gets a free choice of tyres. My team right now, I can see, have put on the white wool hard tyres to start this race, but I just don't think that's a good idea whatsoever, even if they are a good race tyre around China, which, to be fair, I remember historically has been the case around Shanghai due to the high, front deg, how long you're, going around a lot of these high-speed corners. You do need the hard compound as a good race tyre. And the softs are actually really, really bad, but I just don't think we should actually start on the hards. Let's start on the mediums like a lot of our rivals, most of the grid are doing. Leclerc, I can't, unfortunately I can't sway what my teammate does or that side of the garage does. He will start on hards. Carlos Sainz is also going to start on hards with Ferrari. They're the odd one out though. Everyone else is on mediums, a couple on soft tires like Lando Norris, which is surprising from McLaren, but and that makes this very exciting because it's very mixed up, but I just think the better place to be is on the mediums at the start. You're going to see, I'm sure, the hard tyre runners, Sainz, Leclerc, they're going to fall away, unfortunately, at the very start of the Grand Prix. Let's just hope for Leclerc's sake and our team's sake that Leclerc doesn't lose too much time on the hards initially and can, remake it up, obviously, later on in the race on those mediums. But it's now time to go to 5 red lights for round number 2 of Season 5 here. Almost feels like a brand new circuit since we've not been here in a while. Here we go to 5 red lights to the Chinese Grand Prix. The lights are out and we're underway. It's a great start for Schumacher, a shocking one for Ferrari, unshockingly on the hard compound tyre. As we try and go down the inside though, we actually lose a bit of pace and didn't have enough confidence and aggression into turn 1 maybe to make the move on the Ferrari initially, but we're going to try and finish the move off as we go round the outside of him, as we go down the crest into the end of sector 1. Russell is side by side with us. We've both overtaken Sainz, who's now been overtaken by Giovinazzi potentially behind us in the Red Bull, as we see Tsunoda maintaining his lead from pole position. The Japanese driver remains in first place. Russell overtakes us though. On the left hand side, we couldn't quite hang it around the outside there. The fuel level's too damn high to even try going side by side like that on the opening lap, so we let Russell just have the position, and we're gonna have to tuck in and try and get into a rhythm now of this Grand Prix. Get a head down, but Tsunoda leads the way. Valtteri Bottas in second, so as it was on the front row. Schumacher third, Russell up to P4, then we're P5. Giovinazzi has indeed overtaken Carlos Sainz, and behind Leclerc overtook Guan Yu Zhou despite being on the hard compound tyre, and Guan Yu Zhou on the mediums. Look at this overtake there as we watch a replay. This was on lap 1. Lovely, tasty move on the outside of that corner, which is a tricky one to pull off because you can definitely try and squeeze the guy on your outside, right off to the edge of the circuit and try and maintain track position. And then as we go down the straight then, we move to an onboard shot to get a better view of this. Guan Yu Zhou continues then to kind of falter a little bit, and you've got Lando Norris looking to make a double overtake on the Ferrari and the Williams. He's on the soft compound though, so he's going to have to make these moves because Lando's now committed early to a 2-stop this would be with the soft compound attire, but he's looking pretty damn quick as Guan Yu Zhou comes in. So Guan Yu Zhou with damage there. What a shame for the home favourite. Qualified so well, and now I think he's in last place now in this Grand Prix as we go back to the live racing action. We're defending against Giovinazzi, another soft tyre runner in this race. So Gio and Norris both opting for an aggressive 2-stop. Whether it's going to come for them today, I don't know. You know, if the tyre wear levels are high enough on the mediums and hards, maybe, you know, Antonio Giovinazzi and Lando Norris's decision will be, you know, a brainwave. But if it's not, it's going to be a bit of a long afternoon for both the Italian and the British driver. Lap 3 now, though. There may be a change of the race lead. Bottas goes for a move down the inside of Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda goes a little bit wide, trying to get maybe a tighter line cut in there and come back at Bottas, and it works out for him actually because he's still going toe-to-toe with the Finn, and he actually is going to squeeze him out. Maybe no. Bottas is able to keep it going on the outside, keeps his nerves, and he's going to maybe get into P1 by turn 1, and Schumacher may join the party, but Tsunoda is not giving up. He's defending against Schumacher whilst also attacking Bottas, but in the end looks like now Bottas has the clear lead, and it's AlphaTauri, the Red Bull. Of course, AlphaTauri kind of became the more senior Red Bull outfit last season, so this is a bit awkward, and this is for the early supremacy, I guess you could say. Schumacher v Tsunoda, the German v the Japanese, as we've got Schumacher on the left-hand side. The racing line will be his, and surely this will be it for him. No, Tsunoda coming back at him brilliantly. This is amazing between the AlphaTauri and Red Bull. They've been fighting so much so, though, Russell's joined the party, and we may just do as well through the double left-hander. Great launch off that corner, ERS usage, and we're going to send one down the inside of the McLaren. Tsunoda hits the bump, and Schumacher, meanwhile, is up into P2. Tsunoda will have to try and re-overtake him now as he settles in for P3, but little cheeky move on Russell, caught him napping. He was maybe looking to make a move himself on the AlphaTauri, but you gotta be quick about these things, and we just caught him just unawares. And now, can we maybe try and make a move on Tsunoda? We go to the inside, Tsunoda covers us off, but we actually use that as a dummy and go around the outside there. So Tsunoda actually defends too much on the inside and leaves himself vulnerable for the outside move. I didn't think that was going to actually work, to be honest. I fully backed out of that, thinking we're going to have to wait till the mains, they're going to pit straight, but in the end, worked beautifully. And so we'll go again to the outside, fake to the inside, go to the outside there, and it's going to be a deja vu slam dunk move on Schumacher like we did against Tsunoda. The outside of the hairpin working an absolute treat for us, and we've got some great pace right now on the mediums. We're up into second place, but there is a 2.7 gap to Bottas that only grows to 4 seconds. So Bottas looking strong in this race as we've got a safety car out for Ricciardo as he's spun it into the wall in the same place where I believe Alexander Albon, remember, span it at the Chinese Grand Prix in the Toro Rosso a few years ago. Ricciardo, he's still in the race, but he was nearly in the wall, and that's why this safety car is out, as there's a lot of gravel and I'm sure debris spread across the circuit. And now this safety car period throws us a bit of a dilemma in terms of what we're going to do in terms of the tyre strategy. It's lap 9. It's still, we're about 6 laps out from when we would have made that first pit stop onto hard tyres. So is it too early for the hards? Does this now turn into a de facto 2-stop because we're so early into the Grand Prix? But, it'd be very, foolish to not pit under this safety car. We're going to do so, and in the end we decide to just bite the bullet, go on to the hards. I remember on previous F1 games, the hard tyre was actually pretty good around Shanghai once you rubbered it in. So let's hope that under the safety car, we can try and do that a little bit by weaving around, and then hope that the hards go the distance, because we are actually still very early in the Grand Prix. There's still a long way to go on one set of tyres here, the hard compound. But one thing I will say, although this is maybe a bit of a spanner and, we're not sure if this is going to be the correct way to go, this is good for us in terms of, before that safety car, Bottas, like I was saying, was pulling away. The gap was 2.7. Only like a lap or two later, the gap was 4 seconds. So Bottas was pulling away at nearly a second a lap in clean air on those mediums. So I'm hoping, maybe the hards, the race could come back to us. Maybe our car will have a bit more pace on the hard compound. But clearly the Williams was loving the mediums. But right now, Tsunoda is in the lead. He is yet to pit, though, in this Grand Prix. So he's kind of effectively going to, be very soon out of the picture. So Sainz will lead the way soon enough on the hard compound tyre. Leclerc, Verstappen, Stroll, all on the hard compound tyre. So they've got track position, but they also have to make one more pit stop. And for them, it's definitely not logical to make a pit stop under this safety car, because they still have to go quite long into this race to then make sure the mediums go the distance at the end of their race. But this is now a bit of even more interesting race, because there's a big question of, do our hards go the distance, and will they have the overwhelming pace on mediums at the end of this race now? So that's all to come. But right now we're on P11, and on lap 11 onto 12 we go green again for racing here at the Chinese Grand Prix. We've got a few cars in between myself and Bottas, so although we actually, it was a good thing in a way, the safety car came out to reset the race a little bit in terms of the tyre compound as we, oh my god, try and go down the inside of Mazepin, and he literally just doesn't see that we're there. I don't know what was going on there, but we kind of forced our way through. As I was saying, although I like the fact that we can maybe be as quick as Bottas, maybe on the hards if our car suits this tyre better, the fact that we've got 5 cars between ourselves and Bottas is really annoying. I was hoping we were going to be right behind him to jump him on the get-go, but instead we've had to do 2 overtakes already on Mazepin and Latifi, 3 as Stroll has an engine failure, so that's 1 less car to worry about, trying the hard to medium strategy. But we've still got 2 cars between myself and Bottas, although one of them is Hamilton. He's actually giving Bottas a bit of a fight here and slowing Valtteri up there. The 2 former Mercedes drivers are going side by side the hairpin. We're now going to close up to Jack Aitken in the Alfa Romeo Sauber. Can we try and overtake him with ease into turn 1? Good launch off that last bend. No DRS quite yet, but just a pure slipstream, bit of ERS usage down the inside, commit to the corner and just commit to the inside line. Actually, the Alfa Romeo had initially a better run in to that, so clearly I'm still losing some pace to the AI on the initial turn in there, but I just can't go any quicker into that corner myself, to be honest. But the AI just pin perfect there. But we now go for a move on Hamilton in the Mercedes. Hamilton comes back at us and actually weaves into us a little bit, trying to be over aggressive, coming back at us under braking, but we are going to finish the move off, be up into P6, and now there is Bottas, but the gap is 2.1, so effectively all that the safety car did was erode the further 2 seconds that he gained before the safety car. We lost that 2 seconds having to do all these overtakes, but it is what it is. We've now got 2 seconds ahead of us, and I can kind of already tell, I feel like we've got better pace on these hards than Bottas does, and so it's kind of reverse. We're now the quicker man on the hard compound, so who would have thought the hard compound actually a decent stint for us. But further up the road then, the pack that Bottas is trying to catch up to is this pack then that includes Carlos Sainz making a move on Tsunoda. Tsunoda yet to pit in this Grand Prix, so this is a bit of a, wasted effort by everyone looking to overtake him. But I don't know actually why Yuki and AlphaTauri didn't come in under the safety car. They now come in. They were on mediums. They're on the same tyre compound we were, but they just thought, oh, we'll stick it out. So that kind of just shows the mistake they've made and the mistake we avoided by actually coming in, and they're just biting the bullet on the hards. And now we're in a good position because we're catching Bottas. But right now, Sainz is into the lead. Leclerc second, Verstappen third, and Bottas is right there under Verstappen's rear wing. So you would think that Sainz, Leclerc, Verstappen, they're going to be massively out of this race once they make their pit stop, because effectively they're going to lose a whole pit stop time from where Bottas is. But the thing is, I think because we're going so long on these hards and they're going to have that much fresher mediums, I think they're going to come back at us. We've seen it before at China. This happened on F1 2019, way back ago, like 2 years ago now. I remember races like that where people were coming back on mediums and softs even. So let's not count them out yet. And so that means Leclerc, our teammate, might be in a very good position. Speaking of, he comes in 1 lap earlier, it would seem, versus Verstappen and Sainz, who continue on for 1 more lap on lap 16. Lap 15 was the pit stop window that we had ourselves. So Leclerc going for an undercut but we're right there now with Valtteri Bottas. We're literally almost pushing him through the first 2 turns. We just can't get the traction on this next left-hander. You can see I'm losing the back end and having to drift the car through. So very much like Bahrain, I'm still getting used to this season's power unit. End of the lap though, Bottas going for a move now on Verstappen, wasting no time and opting not to wait for him to come in. I'm pretty sure at the end of this lap then, so a bit of a futile effort for Bottas to fight Verstappen like that, because Sainz is in and Verstappen is in. A bit of an awkward turn into the last corner, just being put off a little bit by Verstappen braking initially before he comes into the pit lane entry. But here we're now back into 1 and 2. Bottas is in first, myself in second, but this time it's different. You know, we're half a second less than that within Bottas. You can clearly see we have actually got some good, genuine race pace on the hard compound versus that first stint where Bottas pulled out nearly a second a lap here. We're losing a bit of time in the first sector there, you can see on the exit and some of these corner exits where the traction is with the Williams car, but we're gaining so much in the last sector in a straight line, and then also those last few corners. But Tsunoda is now out as we nearly spin the car on the curb, and oh my god, Tsunoda is out in the most dramatic fashion. I think he's crashed at turn 1. Is that turn 1? I'm pretty sure it is. Tsunoda, not even a DNF of a mechanical issue, he's actually crashed with someone all by himself, and he's out of the Grand Prix in dramatic fashion. It's a second safety car of the day. But let's look on. Oh no, oh wow. Wow, what an unfortunate crash. That is so unlucky. Tsunoda, I mean, he was already going to have a pretty difficult race anyway, having stayed out under the safety car, but that is just not how you want to end your race. Just no-scoped out of nowhere by Verstappen's rear left tyre. A bit of a racing incident, because obviously, you know, Tsunoda's just taken his racing line, Verstappen as well. I think Tsunoda really is more in the wrong in a way, because he should have seen Verstappen coming up the road out the pit lane, or his team should have told him. So that is a very odd way to end a race, and that's a very odd way to get a second safety car now. And this second safety car could actually be a blessing for us. Even though I felt like we had momentum against Bottas, we're going to be that much closer to him, so maybe we can try something on the race restart to jump him straight away like we basically wanted to on the first safety car.
Some information on Leclerc. They seem to have an issue.
What is not a blessing for the team is exactly that. The exact opposite is happening for Leclerc, as he's got a mechanical issue right now. That's going to slow him down in the same way, remember, that Sainz got slowed down at Bahrain. Because we're under the safety car, maybe there's half a chance that issue gets fixed in time for when we go green. But that's so frustrating, because look, Leclerc, he's jumped Sainz. The undercut worked, so Leclerc was going to be the lead driver on the medium compounder tyre. So this is so gutting. I'm sure for those of you who wanted to see Leclerc do well for the team and were excited about his, his coming to my team as my teammate, and even for me as well, as I'm the team leader. Obviously, we want to do well in the constructors. We're going to lose points now because Leclerc is going to go down the order, because I don't think actually that's enough time for him to fix his issue on the fly, as we're going green now already on lap number 19 at the end of that lap. Bottas playing a few little games here with the braking, trying to get the best exit he can. Can we try and catch him napping? No, we can't. Bottas gets the jump on us a little bit. We've got a good run, though. ERS usage. Bottas just giving us a good toe into turn 1. Can we dive down the inside? Oh, it's so close on the inside. But Bottas, oh, we made a bit of contact with Valtteri Bottas. We just can't quite send it fully through on the inside there. We're going to get pinched in by the Williams initially, so I backed out, and then the second part, well, Bottas just cut across us a little bit at the right time, and so we aren't able to make the move. That's so frustrating. That could have been the race lead right there. And meanwhile, this is even more frustrating as we go on to push and chase after Bottas now in P2. Sainz is up into P6. Verstappen's just made a move on Leclerc on the outside of the same corner. Leclerc made a move on Guan Yu Zhou so early on in the race, and now he is a sitting duck with his mechanical issue. This is so painful to watch, but it's a 4-wide move. Oh my word. Williams, Porsche, Mercedes, Red Bull side by side in Formula 1. Absolutely amazing stuff. And now you've got Guan Yu Zhou, who was in last place, remember, in this Grand Prix at one point at the beginning. He's up into P9 there, so good recovery for the home driver, as Giovinazzi makes a good double move there, because Giovinazzi was actually behind both Hamilton and Guan Yu Zhou, but now Gio is up into P8 as now we watch Ricciardo overtake Leclerc, and Leclerc is going to be maybe down to P12 as low as the Ferrari. The second one goes round the outside and go to the inside for the next corner. Leclerc, knowing how Leclerc is in real life, you can just know he's going to be so frustrated on the radio at this moment in time. That is just so painful. Meanwhile, you've got, Sainz up in P5 now, and he's not too far off Valtteri and myself, and he's showing some supreme pace on the mediums. And Leclerc would have been exactly there, if not a little bit further ahead than him if he was at full pace. So it's a big what if could have been for Leclerc in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, we watch on the man who is still in this race on the medium, Sainz on the outside. The Ferrari leading the charge, the prancing horse galloping through these guys as he overtakes Schumacher. And Verstappen in the background copycats his move and makes a similar one on Gasly in the Mercedes. So Verstappen, we've seen Mercedes clearly lose even more pace in qualifying this season. But, last race he came second, and he's kind of sticking with Sainz here, Verstappen, somewhat. I think he's showing some good race pace. So it's a very funny old season for Mercedes and Verstappen right now, as they're slow on Saturday, but quick in the race, it would seem. Meanwhile, going back to our race then, quick on Sunday, well, we're trying to be on this set of hard tyres as we try and jockey and just kind of, look around left and right. We're just sniffing around Bottas's rear end in the first few turns. But like I said before, we're losing time then on that next left-hander once we're down the hill. So we need to wait to the last sector to actually make the move and make the pounce for P1. But we're just not close enough yet with DRS. Meanwhile, Verstappen does make a move at turn 1. An amazing move, actually, on the inside there. What commitment that was from the Dutchman in the Silver Arrow. He's up into P5. Sainz chasing after and hounding George Russell in the Golf McLaren right now for a podium position, P3. He is coming back through in this race. There's still 5 laps to go. This is just bittersweet, though, because I'm just thinking this is where Leclerc would have been. Like, this would have been awesome for our team, awesome for him. But there you go, Sainz up into P3. There was a bit of contact there with Russell. I wonder if Russell played that too aggressively. And with the simulation damage, yeah, I think Russell's in for a pit stop. Meanwhile, lap 24. Here we go. Finally, DRS open into turn 1. We make the move, and we're up into P1 of the Chinese Grand Prix for the first time. Finally, we have the overspeed with DRS and the confidence to go late on the brakes, but we're really wide into the next left-hander. The exact same place where we've been slow all race weekend versus the AI. Bottas on the outside. We have got to defend this for our life at the apex. Go wide, take the racing line. Bit of a squirm on the rear end, but we're going to keep P1 for now. There's still 4 laps left, and it's not just Bottas we're going to have to worry about, because Carlos Sainz is within 1 second of Bottas as well. So this is going to be a 3-way fight maybe for the race lead soon enough, but right now it's still me versus Bottas, and we defend successfully at the hairpin on lap 24. But you can see Sainz now is well within 1 second of myself, let alone Bottas. He's got the fast up the Grand Prix, he's got the pace on the mediums. This is going to have to be a real big defensive show to defend everyone. Not even those two. Maybe even Verstappen might join in, because he's there lurking around in the background showing some supreme pace. I must say, to see where Hamilton is in P10, where Verstappen was in qualifying, he's doing it again. He's doing miracles in this race. Verstappen is dragging that Mercedes car up the order. Very much kind of almost like Alonso was doing in 2012 in the Ferrari. Very similar sort of vibe. But at the moment for us, we're focused on Bottas. We're trying to desperately break this slipstream. We know how quick the Williams is in a straight line, especially with DRS, but Bottas on the inside now. This time we choose to defend the outside line. We take some avoiding action and have to jerk on the steering wheel left for a moment midway through that corner, because Bottas was a little bit erratic at the apex, but we're able to keep it pretty clean, and we remain in P1. But my engineer, my heads-up display, telling me the tyre wear is getting pretty damn high, and that's not good news for me or Bottas, because there's Sainz. We're weaving about a little bit to try and break the toe. We're going to stick to 1 racing line now, as the rules state in Formula 1. Take to the apex, though, as we maintain P1. Oh, Bottas! What have you done? Bottas has hit us! Bottas went for a gap that was never there. It was closing, and Bottas has made contact. He's into the pits. What have you done, man? It's completely unraveled here for the last 2 laps of this race. Then the 2 new brands in Formula 1, Porsche and Jaguar, have come together here. Williams v aarava Archer Racing. Bottas v myself on the inside. Don't know what he was doing. The door was closed. It was a little bit open because I was keeping to the left to make sure I was keeping on the racing line. But but then looking to the apex, I was not thinking at all he was going to make a move there, and so now we've got floor damage, no front wing damage, thankfully, so we've got half a chance to still finish in some good points, but the floor damage means, well, the Ferrari sails round the outside and actually bumps us on the way there. A little love tap there by Carlos Sainz. He bids adieu to us, and so the Ferrari now leads the race on the second last lap of the Grand Prix. It's all kicking off now, and on to the end of the back straight. Verstappen may look to make a move because, of course, the floor damage affects everything. It affects the braking, affects the mid-corner kind of undulation and levels of grip, and also the drag in a straight line is affected by the floor damage. And Verstappen is there on fresher mediums on the outside. We have to brake early because I don't have the downforce to take that corner in the same way, and so Verstappen is there to just pounce on me, as well as Schumacher, maybe even Gasly. This is turning into a horrendous end for us, but a very exciting one for these guys. Schumacher and Verstappen, they're side by side. Gasly and myself are side by side, and Giovinazzi and Guan Yu Zhou, I believe, are also side by side and fighting behind us as well. I think we've definitely lost the podium then, but can we maintain the P4, one of our arch rivals in Formula 1 games, the man who we fought so hard last season for the championship and lost ultimately to Jenson Button? We send it back down the inside of Gasly to maintain P4. Verstappen defends P2. Schumacher, though, up into P3 for Red Bull. Gasly trying round the outside, tries once, tries second, and gets it wrong. Gasly makes a big mistake, and Guan Yu Zhou, the home favourite, comes out of nowhere. Where's the Chinese driver come from? Zhou up into P5 then. He's overtaken Giovinazzi and Gasly. Gasly's now fighting Giovinazzi in the Red Bull, so another AlphaTauri v Red Bull awkward battle there. Inter Red Bull family going on. Ricciardo's there as well, maybe to have some racing done, but the bigger question for us is, what is Guan Yu Zhou going to do? He's got DRS open and he's gaining. We're going to move to the inside now. We're not going to make the same mistake we did against Bottas there the last time out. Defend the inside line. We only just about make the apex, and we're very squirrely on the rear end as the damage and the tyre wear affects us, but we are going to try and finish off the race in P4. No, we're not. Guan Yu Zhou with the send of the season so far. Oh my days. What was that? I just got my pants pulled down by the AI in the last corner. That was an unbelievable dive bomb got Guan Yu Zhou. But let's look at a replay, because although it was a bit of anguish for me on the last lap, this was an amazing bit of action for the neutral fan out there, because, well, look at this. It was side by side between Verstappen and Schumacher. That was a great battle, and the Mercedes driver just about maintains P1. There we switch back Gasly and get back up into P4. Guan Yu Zhou, whilst we're battling Gasly, makes a lovely move around the outside of Giovinazzi, and then you're going to see Gasly just make a mistake as we hit the grass, in fact, a little bit there. Gasly around the outside, but then this is just a twitch of oversteer from Gasly, so just a driver error by the Frenchman, and Guan Yu Zhou is then slipping through. Giovinazzi around the outside of the double right left-hander. Beautiful racing here, even though it's, you know, all because of mistakes, I guess, from everyone, with the tyre wear and just the franticness of the last lap. This is what happens when you have everyone so close together on the last lap. Everyone just goes for kamikaze moves and the pressure gets to you, but Giovinazzi makes a move and an overtake there. Looks like Ricciardo may have a good tow, though, with mediums as well. DRS open, goes for a move on Gasly, and might even go for a double move by the Ferrari. Ricciardo, great stuff on the last lap of the Grand Prix to make a double overtake work, maybe. No! Oh, Giovinazzi makes contact with Ricciardo on the last lap, and even though he's got damage, he'll finish ahead of Ricciardo, it seems like, and Gasly pushes Ricciardo wide. It's a photo finish between the AlphaTauri and the Ferrari. What a last lap there. And that was all behind us. Meanwhile, this was with us. On the inside we go to defend. We just narrowly slow down the car. Guan Yu Zhou, though, sees us weak and I guess just says to himself, we've got to go for it. And look at the dive. Look at the grip. That is insane by Guan Yu Zhou.
It's a performance to be proud of from our Chinese Grand Prix winners today. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, the safety car completely changed the race, didn't it? It's hard to say exactly what would have happened without it, but there's no question that they came out of that situation in a good position.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
Well, it's gone from absolute disaster for Ferrari to absolute adulation. Carlos Sainz wins in Season 5 for Ferrari. Round 2, the Chinese Grand Prix goes to them. Verstappen, another insane P2. He went from P11, again outside the top 10, to a podium here. So that is 2 races in a row. He's got second place from outside the top 10. Verstappen really is doing a bit of a Fernando Alonso from 2012 there in the Mercedes. A Mercedes that is definitely midfield pace, you would say, looking at where Hamilton is in general. And he leads the championship now because of his consistency. Sainz up into P2 with the win. Russell, the last race's race winner, 0 points stay for him with that damage he incurred on Sainz, actually, whilst he was defending. That's a big shame for Russell, because he could have easily still finished ahead of me and Bottas then, looking at me and Bottas and what happened to us. He could have finished ahead of me on the warm hards he was on, but it wasn't meant to be for him. And then, yeah, for me and Bottas, we went from fighting for 1 and 2 to, well, Bottas out the points and me just hobbling along for P5 in the end, getting embarrassed in the last corner. And somehow, after 2 rounds, Verstappen has single-handedly taken Mercedes to P1. Hamilton's got a few points this season, but Verstappen is doing wonders in that Merc in P1 there. McLaren in second. We're in third now, down to third. Williams, it could have been so much more for them, but they're P6. Ferrari up to P4, so they kickstart their season. Still unclear, though, truly, who the quickest guys are. Apart from, I guess you could say, Verstappen. He's the only consistent man there, really. So I guess you could see as a singularity, Verstappen's quick, even though Mercedes might be slow. But another chaotic race, even more chaos than the Bahrain Grand Prix somehow. That last lap was insane. That's why I had to show you a replay from Gasly's on board all the way to the end of the race, because so much happened. So many overtakes, so many side-by-sides on that one last lap of the Grand Prix, all thanks to the tyre wear and what happened myself and Bottas. So guys, if you have enjoyed that second round of Season 5, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.